David here with Figboot on Pens, back again with another fountain pen review. I despise deceptive companies, ones that might tell you half-truths or not much truth at all. Today, I have a review for you of a pen from a company that, while I would not categorize it as a scam, they certainly are doing their best to disguise what I feel they really are. And if I find that a company has potentially misled customers or have been less than truthful about one thing, it makes me wonder what else they might be up to. Recently, I saw a company that I was unfamiliar with advertising their fountain pen on Instagram. The pen was rather eye-catching, and it was reasonably priced, and I thought I would pick one up to see if it was worth the $28 price. The company was named Simplpens. That's simple without the E, so it's Simplpens, all one word. And the pen is called the Ventura. What I'm going to do today is talk a bit about my discoveries about this company, talk about the parts and features of this pen, discuss what I care for and what I don't care for about it. I'll show some measurements, size comparisons, and provide a writing sample, showing you what is one of the poorest made nibs I have tested in many years. I purchased this pen on my own, so it was not provided to me by the company. Okay, in regard to Simplpens, according to their website, they are a company founded in Karlsruhe, Germany, back in 2019. In searching a database of companies incorporated in Germany, the name Simplpens did not come up at all. Now, the company might have just been called something different, or just because the company was founded in Germany doesn't necessarily mean it was incorporated there. I did discover an odd Instagram ad where Simplpens was selling some knockoff Lamy Safari pens under the brand name of Uren. That's Y-I-R-E-N. I've seen Uren described online as being like a second or third tier Chinese pen manufacturer. Up on the website Trustpilot, the company profile appears to have been set up by the company itself. The company information says that it was written by the company itself, and it matches exactly what's on the company's site. And they've even responded to a couple of reviews. Here, it lists the address as being in Sheridan, Wyoming, with the address being that of a company called Wyoming Corporate Office, which specializes in providing virtual office services for companies located elsewhere in the world that want to be incorporated in the United States. There was a recent article by Reuters where they investigated this company and found that over 50,000 companies were operating under this Wyoming address. That's a rather small building for over 50,000 companies. I'll link to the article in the notes below, but it focuses on how cyber criminals run businesses out of this address. Just to reiterate, I am not claiming this company is a scam, just what they chose in a rather sketchy way to incorporate here in the US. I placed an order and I received a pen, and the product I received was what they advertised. When I placed the order, my pen arrived fairly quickly. I did notice that it shipped out of Stowe, Ohio, which is just out of Akron, but the return address on the package was a P.O. box in Buffalo, New York. I thought it was interesting that on the return address for the shipment, the company name was just a period. So what does all this mean? Not that much. What I believe it means is that the company is most likely based out of China and is working hard to not appear that way. If I have misrepresented any of this info, the company is more than welcome to reach out, and I will notate any corrections in a pinned comment below. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not the biggest issue. Just like I said up top, I'm just not a fan of when companies attempt to maybe not be as upfront, even when it's something fairly insignificant like where the company is based. Chinese-made pens don't necessarily have the same stigma that they used to. In fact, I would say that the impressions of the community about some of the brands coming out of the country like Asvine and Hongdian have been very strong. They make some great pens. So, what about the Simplpen product? Does it stand up to those other Chinese brands? The pen arrived in this basic box with the company logo, which is SPL. Also included was a box of cartridges. When ordering, they give you 10 different colors to choose from for free, which is nice. The Ventura is available in 5 different color combinations. There is black and gray, violet and blue, pink and blue, red and magenta, as well as green and yellow. And those are some pretty eye-catching color combinations. And what I ordered was the pink and blue. This is the Simplpens Ventura. It is a rather thin, medium-sized pen. It's fairly similar in size to a Pilot Metropolitan. The pen is made from metal. I'm guessing it's brass. It doesn't state on their site that I could see, and it's a bit heavier than aluminum. I do think that the exterior coloring looks interesting. It's attention-grabbing. The gradient transitions of the blue to pink create a bit of a lighter shade of purple, which is interesting. And then the pink transitions into the black middle portion of the pen. The color treatment does appear to be applied well. The top of the cap is rounded. This is a cigar-shaped pen. It quickly angles up and then is straight. The transition from the cap to the barrel involves a slight dip. At the beginning of the barrel is the company logo, this SPL. The barrel then is straight before tapering down quickly, and at the very end, like the top of the cap, it is rounded. The cap twists off with 1.5 rotations, and underneath is a stainless steel number 4 nib, which is one of the more heinous looking nibs I've ever reviewed. When I first saw this nib, I thought it might have been dirty. Maybe it was like tested out and there was some water residue on there, but no, the discoloration and corrosion will not come off. One of the first things I noticed was the large clump of fibers caught in the tines. But then I also noticed the terrible paint job where the gold paint has slobbered over the lines. As you can see, this nib is branded with Genius Iridium, which is not a marking which is well respected in the pen community, and for good reason. These are very low quality nibs. If you look at the breather hole, you can also see that the feed is significantly out of alignment with the tine slit. This nib looks like it's from a vintage pen that has been ignored and sitting at the bottom of a drawer for 20 years. It just looks atrocious. Even at the rather low $28 price point, you will see in the writing example, besides looking terrible, it underperforms as well. The tines on this one that I received are significantly out of alignment. This pen is available in either extra fine, fine, or medium. And here's a look at the plastic feed. This is not the greatest picture, but I took this right out of the box. You can see the crud underneath the feed as well as the botched and sloppy gold paint just under the tipping. The section is concave and metal and very narrow. It transitions into the threads and a medium-sized step up to the remainder of the barrel. It's a bit thin for my personal taste, so I do find myself having to kind of unnaturally pinch a bit more than I normally would have to hold on to this pen. So it just feels a little odd in my hand, but if you prefer thinner sections, it might work well for you. This pen is long enough to use unposted, which is a good thing because while the cap fits on the back of the barrel, it isn't secure and then just slides right off. I'm not a big fan of designs where it seems like it should post and then just doesn't. The pen is fairly well balanced and the metal gives it a decent weight. This is a cartridge converter pen. As I mentioned previously, a pack of 5 cartridges were included with the pen, and it also arrives with a converter, both of which are standard international. It's one of the converters that has a little spring inside, which acts as an agitator to increase the ink flow. The Simplpens Ventura is available through the company's official website in retails for $28. I've occasionally seen it where they run 2-for-1 specials at the same price, so you could imagine if they are selling them for $14, then the manufacturing costs are probably around $5, if not less. The overall design of this pen is interesting. I do care for the colors and the variations on the gradient. The section is a little too thin for my personal taste, but it is functional. If it wasn't for the atrocious nib, I'd say that this was an intriguing offering for the price. Okay, now it is time for some measurements, size comparisons, and a writing sample with an underperforming nib. So here we have some size comparisons for the Simplpens Ventura. I will say that, like I mentioned before, that I do like that gradient, and I think that it looks interesting. Going from the blue to the pink adds the kind of purple in there, which is nice. In regard to some size comparisons, this is what it looks like with a Pilot Metropolitan, so it's fairly close in size to that. Here it is with a Kaweco Sport, as well as a Lamy Safari. In regard to a couple of other pens, here it is with a Tassia Spectrum, and then here it is with a TWSBI Go, and finally here it is with a Retro 51 Tornado. In regard to uncapped comparisons, here it is with that Metro and the Safari and the TWSBI Go. So before we get to the writing sample, wanted to again show you a bit of this atrocious looking nib. Just the paint job on it is terrible. It's hard to see here, but the tines are significantly out of alignment, as well as I had to adjust the breather hole or the feed to match the breather hole a little bit better. In regard to the writing sample, here we have the Simplpen. And this is the Ventura. And this was a medium stainless steel nib. And the ink that I'm using here is from Ventura. And it's called Kazakhana. Or Kazahana. This is what the ink looks like. It's kind of a lightly saturated blue, not quite as saturated as something like Leonardo blue. This is what it looks like with Fountain Pen Revolution's Royal Flush blue. These are the Ventura bottles that it comes in. It's a nice large 50 milliliter bottle, and the ink is decent as well. And here we go with the rest of the writing sample. You can notice here there was quite a few skips and hops here. You're not going to get a lot of line variation out of here. You can push some of it out, but this is a very firm and stiff nib. You can get a little line variation out of there, but it does feel very scratchy. I would say the tines are a bit out of alignment, and that it's significantly more scratchy when you go to the left and right than the right and left. So let me see if you can actually hear this. So the right is going to be softer, and then there's the left. And I'm not pushing extra hard on that. That's just, you can tell that it's out of alignment. In regard to reverse writing, it doesn't do that bad. In regard to some fast writing, you can see that it is rather intermittent and does skip a bit. So there we have the Simplpen Ventura. I think that if they would have put a different nib on here, just either a Jowo or even Bach or even Schmidt nib, then the pen would have performed significantly better and potentially have been a decent value for the price. But with the current nib that's on it, it's not necessarily not necessarily something that I could recommend, even though other than the nib, it does have a very interesting look and feel to it. Okay, until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.